So hello everybody, this is Bante Joe here, and I'm just here at a village kuti in Gampaha and thought to record a short Ovāda for the internet. So I thought that could start with just a little meditation, so can lean forward a bit and arch the spine and look about 3 feet in front and close our eyes. And can focus in on the breath. Can know when it's coming in and know when it's going out. If we breathe in a long breath, can just know I'm breathing in a long breath. And if we breathe in a short breath, can just know I'm breathing in a short breath. And one can just pose the question in the mind. What would be a really comfortable way to breathe right now? And then one can just let the body respond on its own. And can focus in on the breath at the tip of the nose. And when watching the breath at the tip of the nose, it can be good to make mindfulness as continuous as possible. Being aware all the way through the in-breath, as the in-breath turns to the out-breath. All the way through the out-breath. And as the out-breath turns back to the in-breath again. Trying to make mindfulness as continuous as possible. And before we finish meditating, can spread thoughts of goodwill. Wishing may all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make the mind infinite, can make it unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. And can open our eyes and do a short Ovāda for the internet. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Ditiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Ditiyampi Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Ditiyampi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. So I hope that everybody's keeping well. And today is the day after Poya Day in Sri Lanka. Poya Day is the Uposatha Day. And a group of people actually came by today. And it's been really nice. They came with the excellent intention, basically just to meditate. And they came and kept the 8 precepts. First off, when they came, I didn't even ask them. They just they had all their stuff ready and wanted to keep the 8 precepts. And then they wanted to spend their day doing meditation, basically. So they in the morning they did meditation, and afterwards they swept the kuti here, and then we had a discussion about meditation topics, had a short Ovāda in the morning, and then now they've gone to the forest to do some more meditation. There's these ancient caves in this area, and some of them still have these ancient drip ledges which actually still keep water out of the cave. So they've gone there to meditate for a bit, then see what happens. Plan is that they'll come back, and if they have any questions we can discuss, then they'll do some more meditation and go. So because of this ankle injury, I haven't been able to go to the forest to join them. And also, it's funny, it's just a small part of one's body, a kind of ankle, but as it turns out, it's connected with the upper part of one's body, and with a lot of things one might do, like sitting down to study or whatever. So instead of doing some of the other regular things, I've basically just been recently just enjoying the time to spend alone and to do some meditation. And when they came today, had mentioned to them that it's amazing in the Buddhist teachings, or in any other job, if you have an injury, you're kind of disabled, you can't really do the job. Actually, I didn't mention this to them, I mentioned it to some other people. But in the way that the Buddha teaches, in a monk's job, you can still do the work that the Buddha set out for you, even if you have a twisted ankle, or even if your body is not in good shape, or even on your deathbed, you can still do the Buddha's work. One of the things that the Buddha has us do, the work that the Buddha has us do, basically involves us being secluded. Secluded, number one thing, from society. It can also involve being secluded from other people. Wherever it is that somebody is practicing the Buddha's teachings, it always goes against the grain of society, even a Buddhist society. So there's many wonderful things that one can find in a culture that has become Buddhist, or even non-Buddhist cultures. They usually had their base in another religion. They have many wonderful things. The way that the Buddha is taught, though, is such that when a person wants to practice, they have to become more and more reliant on themselves, more and more of an island unto themselves. And to do this, they have to clear the space a little bit. To do this, they have to become a little bit more separate. Now, separate here doesn't necessarily mean physical separation. It usually does, and is usually recommended that way. But it means a kind of mental separation. It means a separation from sensuality, and a separation from the ways of the world. The purpose for which people mostly associate in the world, mostly people associate for the sake of sensuality. And when a person gets together with their friends, usually they do it for the sake of enjoying something together, enjoying like a TV show, or enjoying a movie, or whatever it might be, or eating dinner together, something like this. And the conversation is not usually about renunciation, not usually about practical things that will help one to find a true happiness. And because of this, when one wants to practice, one will naturally have to separate oneself out from those things to a certain extent. It's not because it's necessarily like an evil thing that people, want to eat chips or whatever it is, or chat or whatever it might be. It's not necessarily evil if it's not breaking the 5 precepts. But it leads in a different direction. And there's this Pali word papancha. And papancha means, Jnanadipa Bhante translates it as expansion. In other words, the things that people do, the courses of action that they choose, open up into further options, further courses of action. And depending on the direction, the general compass direction in which these things are going, they can open up in further options for sensuality, or if they're going in the direction of Dhamma, they can open in further options for Dhamma. So, when a person is trying to make themselves an island unto themselves, what it means is that they can, to a certain extent, rely on other people who are going in the same direction. If people come to the kuti here and they want to know like how many brothers or sisters I've had, and they want to know how to get a visa for Canada to go work in Canada, it's a burden. You kind of, to a certain extent, it's all right to meet with people, and people are nice, but this is the type of talk, this is the type of association that goes in a different direction. It goes in a direction that opens up into options that might lead to going to work in Canada, or becoming more bonded and having more chats about more things that are in the world, like politics or TV or other things like this. However, it's not the type of thing that opens up, that creates more options for growth in the Dhamma. So when this group came, it was kind of a very excellent thing. I was really happy to see these people wanting to come to meet with a monk only for the sake, basically just for the sake of practicing meditation and gaining genuine inspiration in the Dhamma. In this case, associating with people is something that can bring mutual benefits. And people who are wanting to train their own minds, the talk that one engages with them is about the practical aspects of training one's own mind. It's about what are the obstacles that you're facing in your practice right now, and how do you practice with that. And one of the most excellent things is when you see people doing this and then putting these things into practice. It's very inspiring to see the sincerity of somebody who is devoted to trying to learn to help themselves. One of the things that came up today was that the Buddha has a teaching where somebody asks him basically, why don't all of your disciples attain Nibbana? And the Buddha said, well, imagine somebody was standing at a crossroad and a man came and asked him how to go to Rajagaha. And the man standing at the crossroad said, okay, take this road and go here, just paraphrasing here, and you'll end up at Rajagaha. And instead of following that man's advice, the person who'd asked where to go takes a different road and goes the wrong direction. He said, would that be the fault of the man pointing out the crossroads, pointing out the direction to Rajagaha? And the fellow said, no, that man only points the way. And so the Tathagata too said, well, that's the same. The Tathagata is the same. The Tathagata only points the way. It's up to people to choose whether to walk that path or not. So long as one can find suitable friends and suitable companions, then it can be a joy. It can be a joy to see people sincerely dedicated to improving themselves. And it can be an inspiration to be around people like this. The Buddha cautions us, if we don't find people like this, and we want to practice, then better to walk alone. Now, this walking alone doesn't mean that you just cut everybody off and are really cruel to them. But it means that you place reasonable limits on your interactions that will pull you away from what's really important to do. Now, what's really important to do is to gain this kind of sense that you're moving forward and creating a refuge for yourself. And this is done largely by staying alone, devoting one's time, devoting one's life to meditation, to the training of the mind. As much time as one can, one brings more and more of the things in one's life and devotes them to training one's mind. Because no matter what happens in one's life, kind of ankle slips, or twists, or whatever it might be, these are pointing to a higher truth, which is that this way of sensuality is something that's constantly in danger of breaking up. It's constantly in danger of being untrue, unfaithful, something that's unloyal, unstable. We can't rely on it. And so we have to find something that we can rely on. And this is something that the Tathagata can only point the way towards. So the lifestyle of the monks in the canon was one that was devoted to solitude, was one that was devoted to meditation, was one that was devoted to effort. It's always something so extremely inspiring to hear about. And I was just reading about a monk who'd ordained at a very famous Thai forest monastery, and he was describing the lifestyle there. It was very inspiring. And so long as we can find places like this to associate with, as we can find people like this to associate with, then we can move forward with them. But not finding that, then we have to continue on our own as best we can. Because the dangers of samsara are all around us. They're constantly pointing things out to us, kind of slip and hurt your ankle. Or a friend that you thought you trusted, you can't trust. So these things are constantly happening, and usually what happens is one wants to cover them up and forget about them. But they're always there, and they're pointing to a reality, which is that sensual pleasures are unreliable. So we have to make ourselves a true refuge. We have to make ourselves a safe refuge. And we do this, we can help to do this by creating a lifestyle where we're reliant more and more on our own minds. More and more for happiness, one can rely more and more for happiness from their meditation practice. And that doesn't require much to support it at all. Because although the Buddha only points the way, only shows the direction, he's done a really excellent job of describing the steps. And although this is a path that one essentially has to walk alone, so long as there's people going along the road with one, then they can also be a support. But not finding these people, from time to time they may go off on their own path. One still has to carry on as best one can, because this is really important. It's really important to find a happiness that's real, because everything else around us is showing its signs. Showing the signs that it's not safe, it's not stable, and as long as we're alive, we have the opportunity to find something that is. Okay, so I think leave that for reflection, and wishing everybody all the blessings of Dhamma practice.